you live life in the fast lane? Do you have that need for speed? Do you also live life a quarter a mile at a time? Do you have that irresistible urge to get a level cap on day one on a brand new game?
Then this is the right video for you. What's up guys, RefHC here, and this is how to increase your gear score as quickly as you can. So first of all, what is the gear score? This value that you see right here, and is the total value of combat effectiveness of your current build. There are many factors that go into that, and many pieces of gear that need to be there for your gear score to improve, including the level of your weapons, the level of every single piece of equipment, and how many stars they have, and of course our most loved substats. There are many substats to optimize, including our most loved critical rate and crit damage. Now this is our HP, and since you are going to get damaged a lot, it does matter as well as your resistance. And then you have specific resistances to fire, freeze, vault. So if you're facing an enemy that's weak to fire, for example, you're gonna want on a loadout with a higher fire attack, and obviously a more concentrated build on fire weapon. However, since this is a gacha game and you have very limited resources, it's good to establish early on what your build is gonna be like. And the substats are also RNG, so you don't fully decide what you get, and this is where the late and end game optimizations will come to mostly. Worry not though, the main stats for these pieces are set in stone. Like here, the glove, as you can see, always has attack and crit as a main stat, and this does not change regardless of whatever substats you're getting. Stars and constellation and the level of the weapon will increase your gear score also, but it's a very small improvement compared to the improvements that you can have by increasing your gear level on these pieces of gear right here. As I'm assuming most of you guys are gonna go for a DPS build starting the game, the first piece of gear that you should always increase should be the glove, because it's the only piece that actually gives you crit. Subsequently, what you're gonna want to have is any piece with attack, like the helmet, the end guards, the shoulder piece, and the boots. The rest pretty much just gives you all resistance. Now this piece right here and this piece right here are very end game pieces, and you will get them from the 8-man raids or from that currency once you reach at least level 65. So let's not worry about this yet, but they do grant a lot of stats for a specific element, including crit on this piece, so farming for these pieces is very important. Leveling up the main stats will be your focus, and you can do so by obtaining this material right here, which you obtain from a certain specific dungeon, which is the Bygone Phantasm. There's plenty of this material in every single floor, plus other important materials like this material here that helps you increase the level of the Suppressor. This gadget right here, which increases with every level a little bit of every stat and crit every 5 stats, so every bracket will grant you also a piece of mattresses on certain sets. The game will give you a lot of it, however you do have to farm for it specifically, either by doing Bygone Phantasm or by running the ruins here, and the game will prompt you every time you are able to run one of these ruins. You can only run these solos and they get progressively hard, but I do recommend to keep up with this, because early on the Suppressor is one of the biggest increases until you reach a certain point when it's really hard to level up the Suppressor, which is where I'm at on this account. So that's why I'm not running these dungeons anymore, because I would have to concentrate more on my gear. So running Bygone Phantasm Ruins and the Frontier Clash early on, it's actually one of the best ways to increase your gear score. Once you do you reach level 65, however, you do get a guaranteed 5-star from each of these dungeons, including the wormhole. Once you reach level 50, you unlock this currency, which will in turn net you with 1200 of this currency. You can grab one of the pieces of gear here guaranteed, and you unlock that currency at level 50. Now with the blue currency that you see right here, you can buy pieces of these upgrading materials for your gear. This is really worth doing. These two pieces are really worth taking with the blue currency. For the purple currency, I would definitely recommend grabbing this material here, which Genshin player will probably recognize as crystal chunks. And let me tell you, there's crystal farming here too.
No, God! No, God, please, no!
Or you could also buy that with the purple currency, but probably there are gonna be some of you that are gonna come up with plenty of farming routes, and I'm actually excited to see what you guys come up with. If you do have one already, please post it in the comment section down below. Also, increasing the level of the mattresses sets is very important for gear score. These do all go up to max level 70, and bringing pieces to a balanced build, it's probably more important than having one piece at level 70. And also, of course, your character level really matters in terms of gear score. Now, with all this said and done, and with all the many ways that we have to increase the gear score, probably confused you more than enough. So I'm gonna show you the most optimal way to progress. Focus on the story until you finish all the tutorial stage. So more or less until you get to the first tower. That's pretty much around level 20 to 25 probably, and that's where you unlock dailies and a little bit of weeklies, at which point you should probably start worrying about doing those dailies and then moving on as far as you can into the story until the game will lock you out at approximately level 36, at which point you should probably start finding other ways other than the story to try and level up, at which point I do recommend to run some bosses, some weeklies, including keeping up with the bygone phantasm, so that you can start increasing the level of this pesky equipment. At this point you will also feel the need to start leveling up your suppressor. Exploration and the rest of the other content does require a little bit longer, so doing the story is the most time effective overall. Now, my suggestions for the gacha is at this point to don't use the gacha at all until you completely finish the story and you reach a point where you cannot run the harder content anymore. This should be the starter weapons, and honestly you don't really need much more to clear the content that the story gives you so far, so don't over level these to over level 60. You will also notice that you will progressively unlock joint operation, which you should not run until when you are higher level 5 at minimum, or even 6, because this is when you start getting not even a guaranteed gold piece of gear. Before then you can run them, however it's not really worth it. The same principle as with the Genshin artifacts. Before a certain level it was not optimal to run them, so don't worry about this sort of content yet. At low levels, if you want to get rid of your vitality, instead of running joint operation, what I suggest is doing dimensional trials, either for weapons or for chips. It's totally up to you, whatever you want to concentrate first, but I would stock up on weapon materials as much as you can, because as soon as you start doing your gacha pools, then you will need a bunch of these materials. As soon as you unlock Void Rifts and Frontier Clash, you should be running the 3 weekly that you have, and as soon as you unlock the wormhole, go ahead and finish the wormhole. It takes a little bit of time, but it's well worth doing because the rewards here are pretty good. Once you reach at least level 65, you will unlock the raids. They are 8-man raids, and this is the end game content, and it's really fun. Now, if you follow the guide up until this point, you will probably be very high level with everything that you need, except of course optimizing the substats, which will take a long time, as we know. I myself will go and speed run it on day 1. On the 10th I will be live on Twitch. I'll leave you the link to that below. come join me on the speedrun and I will do my first Nemesis pools. I hope this was helpful enough, and if it was, leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. I was RafoHC and I'll see you all in Ida.